Alright, video response. Roseboosje. Yuck. Let's make a video. When idealism meets denial. Which really doesn't have anything to do with the video, I don't think. This is just... whatever. I'm glad he made the video, just because I've been waiting for him to make some kind of video so I can just point out what an idiot and asshole this fucker is. So let's go on with the show.
Let me take you on a quick roller coaster ride through the insanity.
Let's see. If you find the tone of this video confusing, the description might help. Little winky dinky crap. So let's see what we got for a description. If you expected a serious video about antinatalism, that ain't ever going to happen. Oh, I see. Yeah. You don't have to take the subject seriously. You just mock it that way. Okay. I mean, I guess, people could do that about any kind of subject, I suppose, especially if they're cowards and really don't have an argument. If you feel that some stuff I'm saying in this video seems crazy, well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, your excessive rhetoric is excessive rhetoric. That's because it is. Remember that I'm working within the context of premises that are batshit insane. Yeah, now what premise is that? Logic is pretty straightforward when it comes to insanity. I mean, what does that even mean? Logic is pretty straightforward when it comes to insanity. I mean, example, please. Point out some straightforward logic that's insane. Once in La La Land, you stay there, no escape. Yeah, that's saying absolutely nothing. Brilliant. Great clarification. So we have a picture of a roller coaster, apparently, and it's his theory that these devices are something that all human beings should be forced to ride, whether they want to or not. They should be tied down, thrown in the car, and if there's a 1 in 100 chance or a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting thrown off and killed, so what? Too bad. You should be forced to ride. Fuck you.
That is antinatalism. We do this by looking at its main basic premise.
We do this. We. If you find that, it's the same thing, you still got the same crap on the screen. Yeah, so it's just going to be a bunch of other people's images, I guess, right? Blah, blah, blah. Tell the story.
In that suffering is objectively bad. And
that's not really the argument. We're not all the time. You people keep wanting to hang on this word objective. I've defended the word. But it's not how I make the argument. The argument is simply that suffering is stated to be a premise truth, a fact. Okay? That in and of itself, isolated from all circumstance, just the suffering itself, a little kitty under a tree being slowly suffocated to death and being very, very uncomfortable, is a bad thing. Isolated from all other circumstantial events, it by itself, as a thing, suffering is a bad thing. Not complicated.
We must do whatever we can to eliminate this.
Well, that's actually an image from one of my videos. My video was banned off of YouTube for using this image. So we'll see if YouTube policy is consistent.
Suffering. Now, the simplistic antinatalist solution to this problem is to propose that humanity should stop procreating. But of course, that is an idiotic idea.
Right. It's idiotic because these birds are standing on one leg. It's idiotic because the replicating molecule must be revered and we must do exactly what it says. It's idiotic because life is innately and fundamentally perfect, and it's not an imposition to sit there and throw it on somebody. To just throw it at them and say, here, you're alive, fucker. Ha ha ha, because I wanted to do it. And we shouldn't question that logic. No, just accept it.
Because that is not going to actually stop any suffering. And let me explain.
Oh, no, I'll let you explain, but it's an idiotic, the premise is silly, right on its face. It's just plain silly.
Explain this by just taking the proposals to their natural conclusion. The simplest proposal, the simplest antinatalist proposal, is to simply stop procreating as a human race. The problem with that is that that doesn't, of course, stop suffering at all.
Not at all? I mean, not at all? So there's not 7 billion people on Earth anymore, and somehow suffering hasn't been diminished at all? Sorry, no, that sounds a bit ludicrous.
At least, I believe that many of the proponents of the antinatalist mindset, such as, for example, Gary and Mendham, wouldn't be of the opinion that animal suffering is in any way inferior or less relevant or less safe.
Well, I think I would say that it's less, but it's, I don't have those blueprints here. I can't say which car is actually running faster. I mean, there is a difference between intelligence and sentience. The capacity to feel is not. There's no necessity that you have a capacity to do algebra. So the two aren't necessarily tied to each other. So maybe Cranky Kitty, does feel more than we do.
Than human suffering would be. So if we human beings were to simply stop procreating, that would not stop animal suffering at all.
Yeah, well, you can't keep saying at all, because obviously the 7 billion humans certainly wouldn't be vulnerable to suffering anymore. They wouldn't be in a concentration camp. They wouldn't be in a work camp. They wouldn't be suffocating in a Chinese coal mine. They wouldn't be a lot of things. So that much suffering would be diminished and gone and dealt with. And of course, the rest of it would have to be also dealt with.
In fact, it would make things an awful lot worse, because without the human race on this planet, the whole planet would revert back to a state in which all life on it would be subjected to natural selection, with everything that comes with it, such as predation and disease, and all of these things are known causes for suffering.
Yeah, and it's still going on in most of the world, all right? So that doesn't change. Humans, even this densely populated state, there's, hundreds of thousands of deers and lots of animals going through all kinds of life trauma every fucking day. So, yeah, there'd be more space for animals. And, but what's, would there really be more animals if there was less people? I mean, there wouldn't be as many rats, probably.
In the animal kingdom. So, simply removing humanity from the planet isn't enough. And I know that some of the mental giants of this movement have proposed more drastic solutions. But the problem with that is that no matter how piously you might wish for such solutions, the reality of the situation is that we do not have the technical way.
Yeah, whatever. You have no evidence to support such a claim. You don't. You just don't. It's just a silly claim. I mean, this nuclear thing right here. We have built bombs to fight with in war. All right? Not bombs to end the world. All right? And they're very different. So you think this is a weapon? Well, if the objective is to nuke this planet, the planet itself, you can make these things as big as you want. There's no limitation to how many megatons you throw into those babies. And the only limitation that's against, any warring country is the fact that they don't want the whiplash. They don't, you don't want to be blowing up something else and having it blow the backfire, blow your own face off. Because your bomb is so big. But we could make such bombs. But there's other ways.
Wherewithal to achieve anything like a complete extermination.
Yeah, whatever. So because you say so, right? You're not going to back that up with one single scientific fact demonstrating that there's anything about life that's indestructible. We could build a little nanobot, that could eat DNA molecules. And then it would spread. It would be the most insidious virus ever made. We could make it. We could make a virus. Engineer one. And it could take down every single DNA molecule on Earth.
On this planet. that is completely impossible. Even if we
Says you.
subject this planet to an all-out nuclear holocaust, there is plenty of life that is going to survive.
Again, says you. There's no evidence of that. Like I said, there's a point where you basically make this planet too hostile. The temperature be too high, and nothing with a DNA molecule in it's going to survive.
And procreate after that. It's going to inherit the Earth. It's going to continue to be subjected to natural selection, and so on and so forth. And therefore suffering will continue unabated.
Well, unabated. Again, you say unabated. Do you know what the word means? I mean, it's just stupid to say that. Of course, it would be significantly abated. If this was the highest form of life on Earth, there's lots of abated suffering. Because we don't know exactly what's going on in those little brains, though. But it's the general opinion that those little cockroach brains aren't doing hard sentience. Now, I might disagree, but...
Pious notions such as crashing the moon into the Earth are never...
Pious? I mean, do you even know what that word means? It's totally unapplicable to this the statement you're making.
Well, going to materialize. And even if
says you
did, you would still have to consider that it is more than likely that of the hundreds of billions of stars and the hundreds of billions of galaxies...
Ah, here we go. Drake equation mishmash. You don't have any idea how unusual the creation abiogenesis was. Absolutely none. Okay? Could have been 7 times 70 lightning strikes in a row. You don't know. Could have been 1 gazillion, bazillion, 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 odds. And that's the truth. But you're just going to assume it's easy. You haven't made one. You know, haven't come close. But yeah, just keep talking the big talk. You know it.
There will be plenty there on which life is also flourishing and also suffering. So
again, so you've not only gotten over the abiogenesis hurdle, you've gotten through the whole the whole sense organ hurdle, and now you've also created sentience a second time. A very strange and bizarre biological phenomenon where an organism actually, has this ouch thing happen, and now you've taken that and made that a common occurrence. So not only is reproducing DNA molecule with membrane easy, it's also easy to get to this thing that goes ouch. Yeah, I don't think so.
It would be a selfish solution to destroy this planet completely, even if we did have the technical wherewithal.
That's not selfish, it's just rational. You're not going to go save the rest of the universe, asshole. Okay, there is no rescue mission. There's no place for your little ambulance, okay, that you're recklessly riding down the road way too fast in. There is nobody on fire. There's nothing to rescue. You're just putting people at risk for a joyride, for a silly little roller coaster romp. And you're going to kill people for that. You're going to hurt people for that. You're going to hurt animals for that. Because you're a fucking asshole.
It leaves us back at the basic premise of suffering is bad, objectively bad. For some strange reason they seem to think so.
Alright, so here we got another one of these fucking nihilist Looney Tunes. For some strange reason they seem to think so. So again, this is another asshole. If you put the worst suffering Holocaust victim and the happiest Nazi, and you put them there in front of a person, that person couldn't figure out that there's a crime committed, and that one thing is in horrible condition and one thing is in a horrible has committed a horrible exploitation, has stolen something valuable from this person, its welfare, has harmed it. And he couldn't figure it out. Just couldn't be sure. Just he'd have to wait to see if he could feel it. And if the Jew was ugly and the Nazi was pretty, well, that maybe is all it takes, right? It's a pretty woman Nazi and an ugly Jew. And that way, oh yeah, now it makes sense. It's easy to see why it happened. Because we'll just act subjectively. We won't consider it a rational equation. Idiots.
And how do we avoid it? Well, if our self-extermination and extermination of all life on this planet.
Yeah, the ending of it, the finishing, okay? The graceful exit. You're going to exit anyway, fuckwit. It's going to happen, alright? It's all going to end. The human race is going to end. Life on Earth will end. Physics will take care of that. And all you're doing is finding some dopey excuse to keep winding the wheel some more. For what? 4 billion years of the little DNA molecule mutating isn't enough? There's something else that needs to be done here? I don't think so, jackass.
Unrealistic goals, then what can we do instead? Well, here's an idea. The first thing would be to observe that a lot of the life on this planet is still subjected to natural selection, and as a result to disease and predation, and therefore suffering on an enormous scale.
Yeah, preposterous, and it's been going on for hundreds of millions of years. Sentient creatures being treated like shit. Hundreds of millions of years. And that still isn't enough blood for you fucking gory assholes. Phone call. Whoa, back. Yeah, please continue.
Now, we cannot exterminate this life of this planet, even if we were to somehow try and exterminate.
Whatever. Again, this cannot. We could, and we certainly could in 1,000 years or some other kind of number. So it's just a matter of a technical problem. So yeah, it's just a stupid. This has nothing to do with whether or not life is worth perpetuating. Is this somehow running a profit? And the rational, logical, sensible evaluation is that no, there's no way it can run a profit. It's a need machine. It's not a it's not doing anything. It makes a mess and then cleans up part of it.
Terminate all this animal life off the planet, we would leave a planet that is completely uninhabitable by anything that remains, including ourselves. So that is not going to be possible at all. And if
whatever that means, this is stupid. Of course we wouldn't exist anymore.
Is not possible, then the only viable alternative to that is animal husbandry. And that is in fact something that could lead to at least a great reduction of suffering on this planet. Now it is a pipe dream.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, like you wonderful civilized animal torturers. I mean, it's just such a joke. Animal husbandry. Exploitation. Yeah, so we just call that the new word for slavery. Animal husbandry. Fuckers.
At the very least. But the antinatalist premises do seem to lead to such craziness anyway. So let's just take it a little bit further.
I don't know what the fuck this is anyway. So if I did this to you in your image in one of your dopey videos, that's okay? It's proof of something? I'll use you as the poster child for whack job?
Anyway, even if this is not a position that I myself would espouse, but let's see where it might take, if it might take to at least a somewhat saner outlook on reality. So, if we are thinking about animal...
whatever. Again, saner, right. So you haven't made one logical argument yet explaining how a DNA molecule replicating, which was initiated because one molecule acquired the capacity to do it, billions of years of evolution, for what purpose? To create replicating machines that pointlessly compete with each other, to circularly logic a rationale for their own existence, to to merely survive. Nothing else. Survival for the sake of survival.
Husbandry, well, at least then we can take natural selection, disease and predation out of the equation, or at least work to...
Oh, whatever. Again, this is just silly. You know, are you going to make comfy pillows for them all? You're going to prevent snow from falling on them? I mean, it's just stupid. You're going to prevent predation. Then you're going to have to give them all some sort of, reproduction cessation device, right? Because they will over-reproduce if there isn't something eating these little chickies. Okay? They're going to make too many of them. So that's not going to work.
Towards that goal, in the same way that we are working towards that goal with regard to humanity itself, where we have made technological and medical advances that have made us less susceptible to disease and certainly have pretty much eliminated predation altogether. So
that is in itself a silly remark to make. You know, when millions of people every year die of these horrible diseases, you know, parasitic diseases.
Whatever, that we could apply to the animal kingdom as a whole. But then we are of course left with all this animal biomass that we are now husbanding. And what are we going to do with it? Now the thing about animals is that all animals, including ourselves, will die. And as a result, all of us are most possibly going to be subjected to some form of suffering towards the end. Now,
or towards the middle, or whatever. Yeah, for nothing. And it's going to be imposed on us, not because we said, yeah, go ahead, throw me on the roller coaster. No, you're just going to force it on people.
There may be all sorts of moral and ethical reasons why we cannot simply implement a mercy-killing system on humanity, and I'm certainly not going to be the one suggesting such a thing, but hey...
yeah, right. You can't sit there and give people a right to say, I am willing to invest my own welfare in my own judgment. That you can't do. But you can allow people to impose life on people who didn't ask to have it imposed on them by silly, delusional, balloon-chasing lunatics. That's okay. It's okay to impose life on people, right? But it's not okay to allow people to say, fuck this.
Maybe it's something that you might consider. But, with regard to animals, that's an entirely different story. And the funny thing is that this, of course, also illustrates why antinatalism and the more fanatical forms of vegetarianism are such easy bedfellows, because they're both based on a highly idealistic and...
Whatever, yeah, just a rational argument that the whole thing is for your own delusions, to satisfy idiotic notions that you need this or you need that. You don't need to eat meat. It's a proven fact. Billions of people get by just fine without doing it. So again, you're just indulging your own selfish, personal preferences at something else's expense. It's not a complicated argument, and both subjects are tied together because they both have to do with you assholes who think you have a right to impose. You have a right to impose your suffering on animals to indulge your silly luxury of your preference sandwich. And likewise, you have the right to sit there and to impose life on things, assuming that your idiotic values and your fuck-nutted little delusions of grandeur and self-importance are going to be inherited by them, and they're going to be as big an asshole as you and think that it's perfectly satisfactory to swim around in your cesspool and eat these crappy turds. Fucking idiots. You imposing assholes.
Completely unrealistic outlook on reality and a denial.
Well, yeah, right. You say so again. No evidence. Where it's unrealistic. Point out the fakery, the phony, the false, the God delusion. Where's the God delusion in antinatalism?
Of the reality that everything is mortal. You see, the vegetarian, even though they might not admit to this publicly, but subconsciously seems to be denying the reality of death with regards to animals around us.
No, we're just saying that we're not going to play. That's all. We're not saying that these animals aren't vulnerable, but the point is we farm these animals. We create their existence to make your stupid hamburgers. They wouldn't exist except for that purpose. And like I said, the bottom line is, I don't care what nature does. That's not. I can't. I'm not. It's not my crime, right? Because it acts like an asshole. I should act like an asshole. So you're just one of those fucking idiots who just says, "Well, he's doing it, so you can do it." Because something else is worse than you. You're okay. That's how you measure. Well, I measure by a different standard.
Which, of course, cannot be denied. And if we are to be taken into account that animals around us are going to die, then the best way of dealing with the situation is
not to have them. Again, it's just that we don't miss dodo birds, we don't miss Tyrannosaurus Rex, we don't miss the brontosauruses. It's just we don't need this shit. This shit doesn't need to exist except for fucknuts like you who just won't let it go. It's a delusion inside of your stupid fucking head. The DNA delusion. It's going nowhere, it's accomplishing nothing, and all you're doing is imposing a lot of suffering. And you're imposing it. Okay? Imposing it.
Addition to husbanding them, as I am proposing in this particular flight of fancy here. I'm not being too serious here, but follow me for a moment.
No.
Then, of course, as part of this would not only be to try and give the animals under our care a
so what? This little fake bit of movie-ola, little Christmas happy story. This is the reality now. This is how you're going to happily ever after. Well, guess what? It probably wasn't happily ever after. This little kid, who knows how old it was when it died. Sad, tragic, career, alcoholism. Who the fuck knows? I think Stewart, I think he ended up, in a loony bin in the end, right? The little old man's home, whacked out of his brain.
Disease and predation-free life, but in addition to that, a quick and merciful death. And then what are we going to do with these animals after we kill them? Well, I would suggest, since animals are made out of delicious, juicy meat, that we eat them. Bon appetit.
Yeah, classy guy you are. So if the Nazis ate the Jews, it'd be okay because they got a good meal out of it. And that's all that matters. A good meal is worth the suffering you impose. You're just a speciesist. There's no rational reason to think pain in an animal is somehow less than your pain. And you're just playing a game, thinking that because you have an IQ, you somehow feel more. You have that attitude about why don't we just serve up retards? They're made out of yummy, delicious meat. Why don't we just fatten them up in the old farm, the retards, and then cook them up on the old Barbie? Just fuck you people. You just suck. So anyway, I thought there'd be some kind of argument here, but there's no argument. I mean, it's just nonsense, drivel. You haven't explained how your delusions of accomplishment are somehow real. They're not. You're on a joyride, and you're just saying you're going to impose the liabilities of that ride. You're going to pick short straws for people and hand them to them and say, tough shit, you got ALS. Haha. That's all you're doing, shithead. Taking a risk with somebody else's welfare and laughing and joking and eating your meat. Fuck you. Yeah, you just suck.